Let's start the show. We're going to bring in somebody who was Big Nataro last time, but today she says she is the master of the Force. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite all right. How are you?
I am heartbroken. I'm pissed. I'm a little nauseous. And all because of Ryan Johnson. Back to back weeks, he has literally bent me over the table, and I never asked for either week. But anyway, let me introduce the executive consultant. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing a little bit better than you. You might want to see a doctor being bent over the
There's no
table.
hope for me. There's no hope. Just like this movie. There's no hope.
I thought it was a New Hope, but
Actually, it's Empire Strikes Back, and I'll point those out later. Those scenes out later. Last week, and this is on our ongoing torture of James Best and Star Wars. But thank you, Chrissy. Last week we did The Force Awakens. I called that episode 4, 5, and 6. Tonight we did The Last Jedi. I call that a piece of shit, aka a cheap rendition of Empire Strikes Back, aka plagiarism. That's just my opinion. We're gonna find out what everybody on this panel thinks. We thank you for tuning in. We have some people already streaming in. Master of the Force, I will let you go. Backstage, I heard you and somebody else, who I call Mr. White, talking it up about this movie. You seem to enjoy it. Is that true?
I did. I felt like a lot of the beef I carried over from the last episode with Kylo Ren got somewhat redeemed.
Okay.
And I really liked, I don't know, I liked the kind of nostalgic feel of it, and that it feels like it could have been part of the first installments, just in the format itself. Some of the parts that might have been nerve-wracking to you kind of almost were gripping for me, and we're like, yay, okay, that feels good. And just were very, very feel-good moments that make Star Wars the family type of story that it is. I just appreciated it. I really did.
Okay, I have to ask you this: Are you? We haven't talked about this before, so I don't know if you've told anybody else. But are you a big Star Wars fan? You know, you go all out, or you just watch it in passing?
I've seen every Star Wars film, and I feel like if that constitutes a big fan, because it is like I would say nearly a day's worth of streaming, then yes.
Okay.
My family, or my dad more specifically, is a huge Trekkie and Star Wars fan.
Okay.
And so and George Lucas was just all up in our household. So it's a whole thing. But yes,
I'm very curious. Did he like this movie?
He just likes anything anything Star Wars. I think we've talked about this most recent era, and he felt the same kind of nostalgic feelings that I felt in some of the way that the stories were told in this newer era.
Okay.
So feel good all around. Yeah, I mean, he's not as picky either. So.
Okay.
Did
you say that last part again? I'm sorry.
Sorry, he's not like a stickler for, I don't know, what some might feel like are just a derailing from what's been previously established. Like, he likes the new concepts that they bring forth. So.
Okay. Yeah. That's a fair point. I'll come back to that later, because I've heard that is almost the line of delineation for people who are like, because it's not for me to say who is a diehard versus who isn't, right? But as far as who likes this movie, well, if we're going to say the new trilogy versus who doesn't, because of certain things, they just deviate, in my opinion, too far from the line. You know what I mean? It's a new thing. I understand if you want to go over the line a little bit, but for me, it goes too far over that line versus other people who they don't mind. And that seemed to be, to give the audience a peek behind the curtain, sort of what Stephen was saying as well, that he didn't necessarily mind that it deviated from some of the things that happened before in episodes 1 through 6. So there are those contingents in the fan base that feel that way. Did you have any particular scenes or whatever that you liked?
I did like the scene when Rey and Kylo Ren first kind of make contact via their personal channel. I felt like it was alluding to something about them being related, which I thought would be killer for the actual plot. And I think they built that out well if that were to be the outcome. I'm not going to talk about what the outcome was just yet, but that being said, I really liked how they developed that, and it just felt almost like even though it was happening randomly, it felt like almost a compulsion to like engage with each other through that channel, even though neither of them understood what was happening. So I thought that was interesting.
Anything that you didn't like?
So some of what was established in the previous episode with Finn and Rey's relationship dynamic, I felt we lost that this episode, and that kind of annoyed me. I mean, even the beginning of this era was the marketing I personally feel was very about Finn, and then so when which episode was that? The first one of this era?
Episode 7.
7, thank you. So when episode 7 finally came out and we realized the focal point is actually more about Rey, that was a little bit of a blow to me. But I liked how they were developing it and at least having this kind of, kind of parallel journey for both of them. They were there for each other during the different parts of that journey. But this episode, I don't know. I felt Finn come into his own more, but also it was still a little bit of a letdown. I kind of was, going into this new era, I'm like, Finn is the lost Black Skywalker. Like, I'm like going really big with my expectations. And they were not met. And also they continued to further not be met as the story goes on. So
for those who have seen episode 9 already, Rise of Skywalker.
I won't go all the way into that, but you get what I'm saying. Like Finn's whole story it becomes way more about Rey and Kylo, and I'm not into that. Kylo did not impress me episode 7. So Adam Driver, love him. He's amazing. And had he not had to wear a helmet for a majority of his turn at Vader or whatever you want to call him, he's like an expression actor. So him losing that really takes away from the character to me. Well, I guess he never had it to begin with, but just not impressed with Kylo Ren whatsoever. And Rey, I could take her or leave her. Anybody could, I think, play that character.
Okay. Chris, you want to jump in here or you want me to go?
I'll give it a crack. There were some things that I heard from Master the Force here. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Hey, you know what? Shout out to Master Force. I just realized this is maybe your second episode, but this is your first episode with the executive consultant. You must be very proud and happy. Go ahead. Let me know. There you go. Let's do a soft clap. Why is she doing a soft clap? Because this movie was soft. Let me say something, right? She's over here. She's talking about some Adam Driver, right? He comes out. I'm thinking, okay, now's your chance to redeem yourself from you walking around the last half of the last movie like, oh, I don't know, maybe this creature right here. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it at all. You came out all of a sudden. Now you have feelings for this woman. And now I feel like I'm in high school. She's in school, right? She's being taught by her homeroom teacher who's a nun in high school, right? And then Kylo Ren comes out of nowhere. He's like, you know what? I think I like you. You know, I like the fact you kicked my ass, even though you had no training with a lightsaber. I like the fact you kicked my ass. So I'm going to pick on you because I like you. Your parents are nothing. They were garbage.
Garbage traders.
Right. You should be with me because your parents are nothing. You're a bastard. I'm a bastard. Let's just be together. That's what they're saying. I would say one of the things I liked about the last movie compared to this one is I actually did like Leader Snoke a little bit. And then he was the highlight of this movie for me. I was enjoying his character, right? And then I felt like I was getting punked. I was in Las Vegas. I legitimately looked under my seat and said, Ashton, is that you? Because I thought I was being punked. I was like, did he just really get killed without us really finding out?
A stretch, man.
Oh my God.
Confused at that.
They were making this man on Emperor-like levels, and they were doing a good job. He was a copycat, yes, but he was on Emperor-like levels. And then they said, oh, we're going to kill him. Easily. What the whole F are you doing?
Yeah, there should have been.
I want no other letter of the alphabet but F, because that's what happened to me. So, James, I feel you when you say you got bent over. That's how I felt. Just so they can have a big fight scene with these two star-crossed lovers.
Exactly.
I guess the Night Order or the Random, where the freak they call themselves. What are you going to say, Aaron? What you got to tell me?
Were you not at least a teeny bit excited to see these, like, whatever you want to call it? I was still thinking that they were going to be incest lovers, like Luke and Leia.
I can see why you thought James did this. But I can see why you thought they were incest lovers, because you didn't know who was related to who, right? Not Anakin. What's his name? Kylo Ren, because I forgot his name. Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ben is the Skywalker, right? But Luke's thing is called no pun intended. Let me go before we get into this. Luke's lightsaber is calling out to Rey now. Either Luke is horny, or maybe they realized that Kylo Ren was dark. I don't know, but Kylo Ren got his father's lightsaber. His father's was dark. I don't understand. Not dark, but dark. So I don't get it. It's driving me nuts. So it's like, okay, is she a Skywalker? She has to be a Skywalker. She has to be related to Luke. She has to be related to Leia. Something's got to beat her, because she wasn't around much that long. But all of a sudden, Leia started to treat her like she's mommy. And I'm like, wow, you met her for a cup of coffee. My teeth takes longer to fix than you had a conversation with her. But now all of a sudden, you're shedding tears, I'm like, what the freak is going on? This is ridiculous. Exactly. It is very forced. Your name tonight is on the spot. This movie was the master of the Force. James calls it a farce. I will call it the Force, because they try to force everything down your throat. Now, I see Rise of Skywalker. We're going to talk about that in a second, because I don't, next Tuesday, because I don't understand. It's like, I don't know. Do we want her to be a Skywalker? Do we want her to be Mighty Thrown Away? Do we want her with Finn? Do we want her with the guy who played a terrible version of Apocalypse and X-Men Rise of the Apocalypse, whatever? Do we want her to be with possibly her brother? Like, they don't know what they're doing! And because of that, I am confused, and I should be confused. You had 30 years to figure this out. Why am I confused? Why am I confused like I'm a teenager who don't know if I want a man or a woman? I don't understand why I'm confused right now. And I also don't understand why I have to watch Leia, who's never been trained as a Jedi. But apparently everything goes in this daggone this trilogy, right? As Jay says, in this trilogy. Everything goes. No, Eric, because we're talking about it in pre-production, and we're going to talk about it right here, right now. At 9:53 on May 25th, if you're watching this live, you're watching the tape. What's up, Charmaine? I'm telling you how it is. This was the straw that broke the camel's back until I saw the trailer for the next movie. Yeah, exactly. This is my issue, right? This is my issue. Why in the world do we have Leia, who all of a sudden, who didn't even know that she was force kissing her brother in the second Empire Strikes Back? Why all of a sudden now she has the power of the Force, where she could go out of outer space where you freeze instantly? If I give Marvel any kind of credit, it's the fact that they know when you're in space, you freeze instantly. She doesn't freeze. Let me float gracefully back and come up with this elaborate plan to fool my highest pilot and stuff like that, even though we could have just cut him in on the deal so he's not treating her like a damn female dog, because that's what he was doing, because you would treat her like she's the worst thing in the world, when in reality, she made the biggest sacrifice and she was such a good person, but you didn't have to lie. What was the lie needed for? This movie made no sense, Master of the Force. This movie made no sense. Johnson, let me rephrase that. That director had to call you up and say, Master of the Force, how do I create a movie? And you told her how to do it.
Wait a minute.
This was forced. This was forced. This was forced. This is your fault. This is your fault. Welcome to UPR. Welcome to UPR.
Because I can appreciate the silver linings of this film.
Silver lining should have been all over Leia's face when she went out of space and she got frozen to death. That's the only silver lining should have happened. And I thought, hey, what a way for her to go. She died in real life. What a way for her to go. It's a heroine.
Listen, Debbie Reynolds.
No worries. Thank you for tuning in.
Debbie Reynolds. That's her mom. Duh. Listen. Let's
not. About Carrie Fisher?
Thank you. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher, no, Hollywood had not fully healed from Carrie Fisher's passing. That's number one.
Why haven't they?
It's Princess Leia, my guy. Like,
okay, what does that mean?
So that means we're not going to kill her off in the movie,
and we can recover from Leonard Nimoy. We can recover from Leonard Nimoy dying. I think we can recover from Carrie Fisher dying.
Listen.
People die in Hollywood every day. They care about money.
Okay, but this is Star Wars, and now this is like Disney's Star Wars.
Oh, did we even talk about Luke and his crazy eyes? Like, all of a sudden.
Wait, Luke, what?
I'm done.
Mark Hamill was looking at the camera and was looking at the script, like, what is going on this entire movie?
And he actually said it. He actually said it. He said,
yeah, I know. Me either, Charmaine. Me either. Spoiler alert.
Well, I appreciated it, and
I actually did like it.
I love seeing new possibilities. I feel like with the evolution of the Force and of the beings
the Force
that are like becoming Force sensitive, like it's to be expected. There will be like possibilities. And hello, like that's what I came here for. This is science fiction. Okay, emphasis on the fiction. Like,
hey, who's the general that was in charge when Leia ended up in a coma? What was her name?
Don't do that.
Give me her Jurassic Park name.
Oh my God,
it's Laura Dern.
No, give me her Jurassic Park name.
Hey, you know what? If you ever saw a role that was made for somebody, like they said, "Oh, you want to be in this movie? We want to make you a role." What's the name? Benedetto.
Can I read this comment? Can I read this comment by James? Yeah. That's not the Luke I remember from episode 4, 5, and 6. He would never just give up and hide, especially after what he went through. Hold on, Aaron. Hold on. Sorry. Especially after what he went through with his father. This is exactly my point, and I'm going to highlight this one because, James, you hit it right on the head for me. And I've said this before, and I want everybody to go back and you watch any review I've given on the MCU because people think that I'm a DC show, even though Warner Brothers hasn't cut me not one check, and you won't find me walking on any role in any DC movie unless you want me. I'm there. But they don't pay me anything. I'm just talking about consistency and plot. They have set up 6 movies already. Before episode 7 came out, there are certain rules in universe that you cannot break. That's in anything, right? If you have the super soldier serum in Captain America, the first Avenger, then in Winter Soldier, he can't have, some other power that hasn't been established in the first one, unless you explain in Winter Soldier how he got that power. The inconsistency in this movie, and even in the last trilogy, is what makes these movies terrible for me. Now, if you're just a fan and you just like it because you just like it, I have nothing to say to that. But if somebody wants to defend, and I'm sorry, Chris, I don't know if you're finishing what you want to say, but I just had to highlight that. Okay. But if somebody is trying to defend this movie as if it makes logical sense in universe, meaning with what they've already established, it doesn't. I literally wanted to call my name Tex Avery. You want to know why? Because it was like I was watching a Looney Tune cartoon or something like that. Because it was zany, it was going all over the place. What am I talking about? The opening scene when you have a boy who's 14 years old, and he's General Hux. That's General Hux, the leader of the First Order, all right? And then you have all these other people who are taking orders from General Hux, and they're like 50, 60 years old, and they clearly, in dialogue, have more experience than him. When you do something like that, for comedic effect to show that Hux doesn't know what he's talking about, it makes the viewer logically question, why is he in control? Because he doesn't have any force ability. It's not like Kylo Ren who has force ability. That's why he would have a high position. Why is General Hux in charge of that? militarily speaking, when they're actively trying to take over the galaxy, the remnants of what the Empire lost, right? That just doesn't make any sense, right? If somebody says they like the First Order, that's fine. You can like whatever you like, right? People like Coke, I like Pepsi. Who cares, right? One company is getting rich, right? One company or another is getting rich, but it doesn't logically make sense. Okay, they're Looney Tunes him around. He's getting dragged on the floor. He's crying and everything like that. This is ridiculous. It's just it just objectively speaking was ridiculous, and it was as if the entire movie was made, in my opinion, for like an 8-year-old or something like that, with the whole comedy bits and everything like that. Your point earlier that you said, I can't remember if you said at the beginning of this. Oh, you did say at the beginning of this, and I think a little bit backstage with Finn. Finn was set up to be of some kind of importance in the first movie. This is a sequel. I don't care that who was the plagiarist in episode 7? I forget. J.J. Abrams. I don't care that J.J. Abrams directed episode 7 and then Rian Johnson did this, but this is a sequel. You have to acknowledge some of the events that took place. Hence why we first see Finn when he's not in the bacta tank, but he's in some kind of upgraded bacta tank, and he's walking around and he's literally leaking fluids. Why? Because it's funny to somebody, right? But they did that because in the last time we saw Finn, he was wounded. His spine got seared by Kylo Ren's blade. So he has to follow certain rules. We see Luke being handed the lightsaber because that's the last thing we see Rey when she's approaching Luke. Okay? And this is approaching on that. So you have to follow some kind of logic. Rian Johnson said, and this is the same critique that I said in the movie that we did, Knives Out, where he advertised it as a mystery. There's no mystery. A quarter into the movie, they tell you exactly what happened, and you're just wondering, when is it going to end? That's what I was wondering the entire time I was watching The Last Jedi. Why is Luke looking at the camera film and the script at the same time? Why is he as confused as I am in this movie as I was watching this movie? Why is he drinking manatee jizz? All of this is for comedic effect. It's absolutely ridiculous. Luke Skywalker at the end of episode 6 is the most powerful force-sensitive person in the galaxy. That's what the movie establishes. That's what the lore establishes, right? It makes no sense that Kylo Ren was able to get the upper hand on him, even if he woke up and saw that the saber was ignited. He just wouldn't be able to do that because Luke would be leagues above him. We've already established that there are certain degrees of power and force sensitivity and skill set with Jedis. We've seen this in 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. In this movie, the original that this movie plagiarizes in episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, when Luke goes up to Vader and he says to him, you something about skills or whatever like that, but you are not a Jedi yet. Meaning that there are degrees to that, and he can tell. We see that Vader is toying with him because he wants to see how much he knows, what he can teach him, and what he can do for him, and everything like that. That's why he doesn't kill him outright. He just cuts off his hand when he gets annoyed with him. In this movie, the person that they're positing to be the next emperor, because that's what Snoke was supposed to be. I don't care what episode 9 did, because this movie just screwed the pooch so much, and they brought back Palpatine. Spoiler alert: the 9th movie is just another plagiarist. Okay, he's supposed to be the emperor. In Return of the Jedi, when Luke grabbed the saber and he was going to slice the emperor in half, even Vader sensed it. And the emperor was more powerful than Vader, and the emperor knew that he was going to try and call the saber. But Snoke doesn't know that. Yet, Snoke is handling Rey, who is incredibly old. She's more powerful than Master Yoda. And I don't care who anybody. No, that's what the movie shows. That's not me being funny. That's what the movie shows. And no, I'm pissed at Rian Johnson. James, you did nothing but speak facts, James. Don't be mad at, don't be upset at all. All right?
James, I'm upset.
I'm upset too that I had to watch this movie. I knew not to pay any money for it, but I'm upset that I had to watch this movie and actually critique it, right? Okay, so Rey, who can do anything, she can speak Wookiee in this movie. In Solo, that you referenced behind the scenes, even Han struggled at first when he met Chewbacca to speak it. He says, I learned a little. She understood it like it was nothing because they flew to where Luke was. That's how she knows how to speak.
This is
no.
After.
I've always said in these movies, in any movie that you see, there's a suspension of disbelief in order to be in the world. But that suspension of disbelief only goes so far. You can't go a step farther, and it's too much. I said this in the MCU movies. I said this in the DC movies, right? I say it in these movies. You have to have parameters. Why? Because if you don't have parameters, there's no risk. There's no threat. Anything can be done. Why am I here? There's no engagement. But if I know that this person can be killed, right? Then I'm wow, he's really going to do that, or she's going to do that. They might die. I'm engaged. But if they never get hurt, if they never miss, talking about now about Poe Dameron, if they can do no wrong, if they're the galaxy's greatest pilot, that they never get blasted down, I don't care what they do. It's like magic, as you said backstage. It's all hocus pocus. Even in Lord of the Rings that Chris referenced earlier, Gandalf had limits, even though he was supposed to be a powerful sorcerer.
He also resurrected himself, though.
Huh?
He also resurrected himself.
He didn't resurrect himself, but I mean, through the power thing. But even that, he had limits. He couldn't just kill Saruman. I mean, he couldn't just kill who's the big bad. He couldn't just do that. He helped them as he could. You see what I'm saying? There were rules to that. They couldn't just destroy the ring in any fire or any volcano. They had to go to Mount Doom. Why? So that there's engagement in the story. These movies, especially this one, because you're throwing out the book, you're not throwing out the book of your own space adventure. You're throwing out the book of something that has been established for 30-something years. Not to mention a movie that just came out like a year or two before yours. That anything happens that you want to happen, it makes no sense. Finn, there's no word beyond beta. I don't know what it is. I don't speak Greek. But whatever the lowest form of Greek is, that's what they made Finn in this movie. Finn stooped over Rey in The Force Awakens to a point that I was a little nauseous to my stomach. You just met this chick. Why are you fawning over her?
He's force sensitive, and some part of the force is
he's force sensitive. That's why he just stepped back in Rise of Skywalker, and he says, "You know what? I'm done." Ask John Boyega. In this one, he's still simping. He wakes up, his back literally got sliced in half. The first thing he says is, "Not, oh, thank God I can walk. Can I still get an erection?" He says, "Where's Rey?" That's the first thing on his mind. Sorry, no, Aaron, listen. There's love and then there's simping, and he was simping. Okay. Well, then they introduced this token character, and I'm gonna call it token, and I'll get to that more in my final thought. They introduced a token character, and this is nothing against the actress, because some people think that you need a warning not to drink bleach when they can read. Okay, so I'm not saying anything against the actress. Save the emails or the comments. I'm not reading them.
Right.
I said the character. They introduced this token character. Why? Because a lot of movies make a lot of money in China, right? And so that's why they introduced her. Yes, that's why they introduced her character. You'll see this in Age of Ultron. That's why they introduced the Asian when they go to Korea, South Korea. That's why they do these Disney movies. That's why they do that, because it makes big money. And in China, there is an actual thing that if you want to film here or whatever, you have to have Asians or Chinese specifically in prominent roles. So it's a thing that they do.
I'm sure it was a factor.
Yeah, it's a factor. I'm not saying it's the only cause, but I call it token for the simple fact of she didn't do anything.
You don't got to call her token. You could call her by her name if you were willing to look at
Finn is token. It's equal opportunity tokenism. Finn is a token, and so is her character. She's a token. Why? Because they didn't do anything except look their color. That's why I'm calling it a token.
I think she was.
If she wasn't in the movie, and they didn't have Kelly Marie Tran, and they gave it to another random person, would you miss Kelly Marie Tran? If Finn wasn't in the movie, and they gave his character, I'm sorry?
I don't think the character was required at all, like you're saying.
That's why they're a token.
But I also think that she was like a token love interest, so that we wouldn't have Finn.
That's why I called her Miss Token, and he's Mr. Token.
Yeah.
It's equal opportunity. That everybody can get the hate. It's tokenism. And John Boyega himself said it. Also, if you don't even believe me, look at the posters that they released in China, Disney.
Right.
When they took his in the U.S. posters, on Western posters, you see John Boyega. Then it's like he's Kylo Ren with the mask. You don't even know who's Kylo Ren. Where's John Boyega at? He's nowhere, just like in the movie. He's Mr. Token. He's gone. He's out of here. Somebody prepped the silhouette for him. So again, and then too, let me just say this. This is the theme of this movie that I got. Anything they can do or anything he can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than him. There were so many women in this movie. I don't mind if the women are in this movie. I don't mind if they're generals, if they're leaders, if they're fighters and everything like that. But they kept showing them every camera scene, but they didn't do anything. What were their names? Why are they showing them like literally like, oh, here's another woman. Here's another woman. Show us what they're doing. Why do you have the camera on them? Is it just because they're tokens and they're women and you're trying to make it inclusive, or do they have a purpose and function? I'm not one for labels as far as myself, because then people generally want to put me in a label and they think that, oh, this is all that I believe because I've used this label or whatever like that. But I have a problem, and again, I'll get more into this in my final thought, of you just showing all these women. That's great because it's women are more the population on Earth than men. They should be more in movies and everything like that. The same with people of color. They should be more. It makes logical sense. But show them having an actual role and function. Don't just pan the camera to them to show that we have women there. That's not inclusivity. That's a slap in the face. And I don't like that. That's why I say that thing about Finn, because he's a star. He's a star of the movie, and he does nothing. Kelly Marie Tran is a star of the movie, and she does nothing. At first, I thought she was Bugs Bunny when we first are introduced to her. Then she was acting goofy. Then she comes off as really intelligent, and she knows what she's talking about, right? Okay, I got that. There's some kind of dynamic. They have kind of a deepening of the plot when they're in the casino world, right? And they do nothing with that.
Yeah,
they do nothing with it.
Felt unnecessary too.
Of Rise of Skywalker. But Rey, again, the queen token, the queen of tokenism, she can do anything. Even though we've seen Master Yoda, who's supposed to be the greatest Jedi to ever live. That's what the canon establishes. That he says people have to train. Anakin Skywalker, who was created from the midichlorians themselves, had to train. Rey doesn't have to train. Did Luke Skywalker tell her how to even swing a lightsaber? Yet she's fighting Imperial guards who are trained how to fight people with lightsabers.
She's being guided by the Force.
That's not how it works. I'm sorry, it's just not how it works. And by the way, the last thing, I noticed that they somehow got Federation technology in this movie, and their shields don't run out for anything, even though halfway through the movie they said, we've only got a short amount of time before the shields run out. 3/4 into the movie, they still got shields, and they're still running through space. What is going on in this movie?
It's a big question.
I'm sorry, James. I have to call shenanigans. The reason why they made her a Palpatine is because they had no plan from the jump of what to make Rey. They had no idea, and they pulled that literally out of the deepest region of their anus, and they made her a Palpatine. Even Palpatine was trained, right? He was trained by Darth Plagueis. Palpatine says that. So if Palpatine, you're telling me that Rey is more powerful than Palpatine, who had to be trained himself, that Rey doesn't need any training? It doesn't make any sense.
She needs training.
So let me ask you this. So I don't know if Michael or LeBron James has sons, right? So LeBron James is great at basketball. You're telling me as soon as his son can walk and can shoot a basketball, he's automatically going to the NBA, or does he have to train?
Is he a Jedi?
No. We're using the same logic. He might have a natural inclination toward it.
I gotta call time on this one. It's been great. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. Stay with us. You're still watching A Popular Review.
What's this guy supposed to be, the ultimate badass?
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
Go up to his trailer?
Yes.
Do you want to leave a message?
Yes. You don't understand.
Long have I waited. Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny. And now, your coming together is your undoing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. reviewing Star Wars The Last Jedi, your movie review and reaction. Make sure that you join us on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. for No Country for Old Men. And then next Tuesday, continuing to Star Wars, 3 more movies left, thank God. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. But once again, tonight we're talking about Last Jedi. Also, make sure that you turn in to our UPRE on YouTube exclusive Army of the Dead. That is out for you right now to go ahead and watch that movie starring Dave Bautista. Very interesting review. Executive consultant here along with the Force, and down below is Master of the Force, newest member of the Unpopular Review crew. Welcome aboard. I hope you enjoyed the first episode with the executive consultant, and I hope you enjoyed this portion. But now we're getting to the final thoughts, and I'm actually going to start it off this time simply because the fact that I want Master of the Force to know exactly how we do this, even though she was on here the other day, so she probably does. But I'll still go first for the first time ever. This movie I actually did like when I saw it in the theater. I actually liked it. I saw it in Vegas. I came out thinking it was one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time. Why? I had to piggyback off of what Master of the Force down there said, and that it felt very different. And because of that, I was entertained by it. I enjoyed it because it did not follow the norm. Now, that was in 2016 when I went to go see, or 17 when I went to go see the movie. I think it was 17. Yeah, it was 17. These years later, watching it again, realizing the history I have with Star Wars, I did not like it, actually. I liked it when I first saw it, but the rewatch factor was not there. It was a lot too less to be desired about the movie, the things I mentioned earlier. Kylo Ren at the end, going from I love you to I'm going to kill everybody there, and I still want to kill my mom for some reason. Parasital, homicidal, genocidal, like pick a struggle. And then they try to Anakin Skywalker him in the next movie, which we'll elaborate more on Tuesday. So it's really frustrating to think about the first one, number 7, I could have gave a pass to, and I think I did. But 8 and 9 are so frustrating, it's hard for me to give a pass to. So therefore, I'm going to give this movie a thumbs down.
3, 4,
Yeah, I can keep on going, but I got another show to produce. Master of the Force, is up to you.
James has made some. The Farce has made some very valid points this evening. And I think I'm gonna Paula Abdul it and give it a thumbs up. Just for nostalgia's sake, I love how they kind of twisted it. I ain't say that many now. I love how they took some of the original format of the movies and twisted it, tweaked it here and there to give us something new and fresh and something to look forward to, something exciting that breaks the walls of Star Wars logic and meaning. I thought that was cool.
I'm glad you did that with an evil laugh. Because that's what they did.
And go capitalism.
Yeah, exactly. That's what exactly. I agree with that last statement. That's what they said. James coming in here saying, I would say it's better than one with Jar Jar. I agree. That I called Finn and Rose Mr. and Mrs. Token, but Jar Jar was Mr. Blackface.
Oh, here we go.
That was terrible. I could not do that. So I might agree with you completely on that one. Yeah, they had a bunch of clones and a bunch of troopers just living under the ice randomly for 30, 40 years. But, of course, movie logic, right? Yeah.
Like
okay.
cicadas.
I'm going to say this. So years ago, I was on a trip and I was having a conversation with somebody, and it's not important, but in generally speaking, but for the sake of what I said up earlier about inclusivity, I'll say he's Asian American. Okay. And so we were talking about how I was making a point even back then, and this is years ago, that I said, I don't like it when they have black people in movies and they act like buffoons or they act stupid, or thugs or whatever like that, because people watch that, they may not know black people in real life, and this is their only peek at black people, right? And then that negatively affects me. And he said something that stuck with me to this day. I understood what he said. He's absolutely right, but I still hold true to how I feel. And he said, yeah, but at least you see people who look like you in movies.
Yeah.
That's a very true statement, and he's absolutely correct. He was absolutely correct when he said it. But it's absolutely sad that when we get an opportunity, it's literally a silhouette. We have that character because that's what literally these characters we feel are. And Rose wasn't fleshed out at all. And You don't get to see that, especially in a science fiction movie. And she had the beginnings of a capable, full person who happened to also be Asian, who happened also to be a woman. And none of that was fleshed out. That's why I call it tokenism. Finn was established or set up to be a key player. And we only got to see glimpses of that in episode 7. The problem with that is it's a trilogy. And we see what came of it, which tells me that there was no storyline for him. There was no storyline for Snoke. There was no inclusion of whose Rey's parents were. We have all the clues there. It doesn't take a sleuth to figure that out. We know that. The movie's telling us itself, right? That's why I call them Mr. and Mrs. Tokenism. It has nothing to do with the actors. The actors themselves have spoken out against that.
Right.
Anybody who follows John Boyega knows that he had a fit about that.
Yeah.
Right. So let's not act like, and I'm not saying anybody on this panel is doing that, but for anybody who has a problem with anything that I said, and I'm not saying anybody in the comments did this, but in years from now, let's not act like I'm the first one to say this. Let's not act like The Last Jedi is the first to do this. I don't like it when they do that. I stand by that. That said, how sad when the first time you get to see somebody who looks like you, or the rare times you get to see somebody who looks like you, and they're nothing but a silhouette. That doesn't depict Asian Americans. That just happens to be a cardboard cutout that looks like you or looks like somebody in your family. That's not representation. Not at all. And if you think it is, again, I feel bad for you. So I just wanted to address that early on. I think they completely killed Luke Skywalker, no pun intended, because he becomes one with the Force at this movie after he astrally projects himself in a thing. We've never seen that before. I don't know where they picked that out of. Maybe they thought it was going to be cool or something like that. Space magic, and that's literally what it was. But it wasn't the Force because it's not established. There's Mr. White in the comments right there. But again, it's not established. But why he chose to become one with the Force, because that's what you do when you dissolve like that. You're choosing to become one with the Force. It's not like he had a heart attack and he died and then became. That's not how it works, because they've already said it in canon. So he chose to do that. He chose to run away. He chose to quit. He didn't run away when he was literally facing the devil, who happened to be his father, because that's how Darth Vader was set up in the original trilogy. So as James pointed out in the comments, why would he run away? Because his nephew, who everybody, even Snoke, is saying, you're just playing dress up as Darth Vader. Take off that dumb mask. They say it literally in the movie. So why is he running from him, especially if he has power enough to astrally project himself across the galaxy?
He's trying.
That makes no sense. I'm not even going to talk to Cocoon Leia. I'm not even going to do that, because how she's doing that when she's displayed no other Force abilities whatsoever. Again, space magic, because it looks cool. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was a Michael Bay film. Now, I just wanted to do something, because as you know, and we haven't been doing recast, and I apologize, because I know I get a lot of comments, a lot of emails saying, James, please do recast it again. I love your recast. It's always on point. And I appreciate those comments. I'm going to give you a little tease of what I thought. And as you know, I always recast this movies based on who they reminded me of. Let's go to this first person right here. And this is General Leia, right? I don't know if it's a fleet and it's supposed to be like the Navy. Is the general higher than the admiral? Who's in charge? I don't know. The camera keeps going to her, right? But this is General Leia. And as you know, I recast it based on who they look like. And I kept watching. And I said, she looks just like Margot Kidder to me. And that's who I recasted her as. And this is them together. So, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, whatever like that. They were friends, clearly, whatever like that. But they look similar in their older age. And I thought that would be a good recast. But let's go to this main one. I call him the Big Beta. The movie calls him the Big Bad. No, it's not Snoke. He died, remember? It's this one. Kylo Ren, the man that you see crying just a little less than General Hux. the one that people tell me is so good. I don't know. Not in these movies. But anyway, here he is. And he has a dumb face in this shot.
Hey!
That's the same look I had when I was watching this movie. Why am I here? Why are you doing this? What did he say? What did he say? More. That was him. This is the worst. Anyway, that's what he
right the line.
This is Kylo Ren. But when I saw that and I said, what the hell does he? Is that kinesio tape? What does he have on his face? Then I thought, oh, it could be only one person. It's Nelly. And that's who we casted it for Kylo Ren. So again, we have General Leia and Lois Lane, Marvel Kidder. And then here we have
oh my God,
Sith Master Beta, And then, oh wait, I didn't even realize that sounded like Sith Master Beta. Beta, not Beta, Beta.
Sure.
Okay, and here we have Nelly. It's hot in here. That would be my recast. As for this movie, and Brian Johnson, you got 1 thumbs up, and that's all you're gonna get, because I promise you, I will not be watching another one of your movies. I'll lie if I have to. I'll break my one rule. I gave that last movie that wasn't a mystery a thumbs up. Why? Because it was my friend's birthday, and I owed him, even though he didn't get me the saber. But whatever, he tried. He tried. PayPal, I'm looking at you, or whatever that was we were trying to use. All right.
So.
This movie, I want to reach into your anus, Ryan Johnson, and twist my thumb all the way down, okay, to pay you back for bending me over that table unwanted.
So much
That's Hollywood.
in your window.
At least I didn't pay for it.
Do you have a fist? Do you have a fist?
Oh, and I'm sorry. This movie was made for a budget of, I don't know, a couple of $100 million or whatever, and it made billions. You want to know why? Because the same people who rushed out to see Age of Ultron and said, oh, that movie is great. I love the scene where they fought a bunch of robots at the end, and then years later, you know what? Age of Ultron wasn't that good. These are the same people now who are saying, you know what? Oh my God, you got to see The Last Jedi. He completely throws out the book. You know what? Last Jedi really wasn't that good. It didn't make any sense. But I can't wait to see Rise of Skywalker because they brought back Emperor Palpatine. Yeah, there he goes right there. That's one of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching us. Please make sure that you join us on Thursday for none other than No Country for Old Men, which is ironically James's pick.
You're welcome.
But for Master the Force and for the Force, I am the executive consultant. We will see you right here next time on Unpopular Review. Good night, everybody.